Hi Flosstube, and welcome to video number 3. This has been an interesting adventure. I'm feeling a little more comfortable with the whole process. I wanted to concentrate on this video to give an update on my Maynia 2021 progress. This is the Maynia that my sister and I have challenged each other to, which is a new project start each weekend in the month of May. The other thing I wanted to do was to show you one of my FFOs since I began cross-stitching again last fall. And I also wanted to talk about some of my lessons learned and talk about some of the tools that I use. I will talk about 2 of those. So the first and foremost, I want to give an update on project number 2 for Maynia, which for this one was the Nebraska Prairie from the Winds of Autumn book by Blackbird Designgs. And so that has been a very fun project because it was a challenge for me, a new challenge to stitch on something that is a 36 count. So I picked up my 36 count linen at the same place that I picked up my book, which was at my local cross stitch store called Stitcher's Garden, and I will have a link to them down below. I'm also going to show you a link of my progress so far on this project. One of the things that I have learned was, as I mentioned last time in my second video, that I needed a different type of magnifier. The one that I had before, which was one of those ones that just rests against your chest, did not have enough magnification. So I ended up purchasing from Amazon one of these types. It also has a light, and you insert the little magnifying lenses into a slot here. So let me show you. It comes with 5 different strengths, and let's see if I can get this in. There we go. So this is how it looks. I'll show you what it's like with the light on, and there's the light. So it works very well. It allows me the range to be able to look at the pattern while being able to have the magnification for the project that I'm working on. So I've been very happy with that, although it is very heavy on the nose, and I found that I had to ease my way into using it because it just became a little painful after a while. But I'm getting better. I'm able to stitch for longer periods of time. Here's what the container looks like to hold the different magnifications. So I really appreciate that because I have also used it a couple of times on my project number 3 for Maynia 2021, which is the October 31st. So before I go into that one, though, I want to talk a little bit further about my Nebraska Prairie progress, which I've been really happy with it overall. However, one of the things that has been a challenge with the project itself is that I'm not going to show the pattern because I know better than that. This floss has a symbol in the pattern, but there is no color called out for the floss. It's missing this in the instructions. The other thing that I found interesting is that the model, there's some differences between the model and the pattern itself, which I don't mind because I have a habit of, altering things sometimes just to suit my own needs or maybe to address a miscount if it's possible. So that was something I noticed with that, was that the pattern had a symbol that was not identified, nor was the floss color identified. So I'm going to select something to go into that area. I'll look through the floss colors that I have on hand and we'll select something that I think will be appropriate. Next, project number 3 for Maynia 2021. I started the project called October 31st. So here's a photo to show you where my progress is on that. It's getting close. I think I should be able to finish it up within a couple of days. it is being stitched on a 32 count, so I'm able to use sometimes no magnifier. Depending on the time of day, I use the magnifier, and if I've been really tired, I've resorted to the glasses that I just showed you. One of the things that I found was that the floss that I purchased for it, I purchased an over-dyed floss, and I'm not going to mention the brand because I do have that particular brand floss for another project that I have not started yet, and I'm hoping that my experience will be better. But for this particular project, the brand that I'm using, I'm not a fan of it right now. I don't know if it's I just happen to have a bad batch for this project, or if it's a case of maybe it just doesn't work well with the linen that I'm using. I'm not sure which. It tangles a lot. I have found that very frustrating. I'm not a fan of having constantly to untangle knots that I'm encountering. I do like the way it looks. However, I did notice that contrary to the overdyed floss that I used for my first Maynia project, which had a really nice change in color, this one, the overdye change of color is so subtle, it doesn't really show up well. So we shall see. I'm hoping that this particular brand of floss that I have, and it's special ordered for another project that I've yet to start, I'll have a better experience with that. So fingers crossed that that works out well. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was I have to pick my project number 4 for Maynia. And if for those of you that have watched my other videos, and please feel free to go and watch number 1 and 2, but number 1 I did talk about getting all of my 5 projects from this book. So the other 2 that I flagged for Maynia 2021 are this cute little bag right here, or this adorable little pin cushion. So I've thought long and hard, trying to decide which one, because they're both on a 36 count. So I have decided it will be this one. So I will be starting that later on today. I do have the fabric. I did need to go and purchase some more of the floss. There's still one more that I do not have because that color seems to be sold out, but I can work around that for now and then find a way at some point to get the missing floss. So I know it'll work out. And if I can't find it within the next week, then I will substitute. I'll find something that's a little bit closer. One of the other things I wanted to mention was I had some issues trying to upload the video that I shot last week, which included some call outs and photos, and they didn't show up. It was a lesson learned, so I wanted to show a photo here of one of the patterns that I talked about for the Hocus Pocus. I just wanted to show what that looked like. Another thing I wanted to talk about was my project bags. So as I had mentioned in my first video, and maybe even in my second one, I'm really careful about how many projects I have going at a time for cross stitch. Now, one of the other things I like to do is quilt, and I found that by allowing myself to have too many projects on the go, it causes me a little bit of stress internally because they are calling out to me, finish me, finish me, finish me. So one of the things I've done with cross stitch is I had created some project bags for myself, and I also created some for my friends and some family members. But by having a limited number of cross stitch bags for myself, what that meant was that I then forced myself to a limitation on my projects by saying, okay, 1 project per bag. So this is the bag I've been using for my Maynia projects that I made for myself. I really love this inside fabric. And these are all fabrics that I have from quilting projects. So, and little embellishments. For every single bag that I've made for myself or for friends, I've made sure to add an embellishment onto the zipper just because I like the look. Another thing I want to talk about was one of my FFOs. It was the second one. It was the second project that I started, one that I started back up on cross stitch late last year. And it is called So She Did by Lori Holt. It has a stitch count of 140 wide by 100 high. I used a Zweigart 28 count white even weave because I had not really ventured too far into other types of fabrics at that point. I started it in late fall 2020. The last stitch was stitched on February 13th of 2021. And then I FFO'd it on March 5th, 2021. It was stitched 2 over 2. I used the called for DMC floss colors. I did alter some of the embellishments on the project, which I'll show you right here, some of the photos. What I did was, instead of using cross stitches for the heads of the needles in the pincushion, I used little iron-on beads because I wanted to have that little bit of splash that you would have from a needle. You know, they have nice heads to them. So I did that. And another thing that I did was I changed the color used for the words she did. The called for color was a gray. And I just felt for the message of it, it needed more oomph, a little more impact. So what I did was I made it in red. I also did a little bit of minor adjustments to the stitching to make it so it would align a little better in a frame. So I did that as well. And I did all the mounting myself. The only thing that I did do that I did was, as far as someone else being involved in the project, was I took it to Hobby Lobby to have the backing put on the frame. So they did a really nice job with that, and I was really pleased. So it hangs in my studio. Let's see, what else? Oh, I wanted to show and demonstrate something else that I like to do. Of course, I've mentioned I like to quilt, and this is something that was kind of a crossover between quilting and leading me back towards cross stitching, and that was working on a crazy quilt project. So here are pictures of it, and it is hanging in my studio. It was a lot of fun. I like pink, that's why you'll see that it is a pink focused project. It was a lot of fun learning how to do some of the different stitches. I enjoyed working with beads. There was no pattern. It was something I completely worked with on my own. I took some fabrics from a quilt that meant a lot and is very near and dear to my heart and used those in the crazy quilt. I used a variety of different types of floss, and of course, as you can see, beads and embellishments, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. What else? Let me think. I don't want to go on and on and on right now. I'm still getting comfortable with all of this. I do want to give out some shout outs. Shout out to my sister, Victoria, the Happy Stitching Nurse. I'm going to link to hers. She had her 4th video today, and it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. Something she did call out and mention was that she called out to our sister-in-law, Lori, yesterday. Actually, my sister went over to my brother's home and did some stitching with our sister-in-law, Lori. She wanted to start working on it, and while she was there working with Lori and chatting, I was on FaceTime with them, and it was really a wonderful bonding moment, nice sisterhood amongst the 3 of us, and my brother, of course, was chatting with us once in a while too. So it was a lot of fun. So shout out to them. Another person I wanted to give a shout out to is to another YouTuber, the Silver Turtle Stitcher. I will have her link down below, as well as Crossed by Floss. So I will link her YouTube channel as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for all of your support. and for encouraging me. The other one thing I'd like to ask is if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, as well as please subscribe, and feel free to leave encouraging comments, because that helps me to continue to push forward with this challenge for myself. So thank you, and until next time, enjoy your adventures with cross stitching and making items.